Hello YouTubers and welcome to another episode. Before we get into it, on this lovely walk this morning with my smoothie down here, I need to ask one question. Do you think it ever gets too hot to do some training, whether it's outdoors or indoors? Because I definitely think there is, but where do you think that temperature lies? Another thing is I think the temperature can change depending on where you live. Here in the UK, we're not really on it when it comes to dealing with heat. We've got old buildings, we've got buildings pretty much no one has AC, just some fans here and there. And then yesterday and the day before was about 30, I think it hit 32 degrees, 31 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit, probably about 178. But when do you think it gets too hot? Do you think it doesn't get too hot if you have AC? Or do you think even with AC there's temperatures where it's pushing the boat out? But speaking of pushing the boat out, we're going to be pushing the boat out onto the water this morning after a lovely recovery day yesterday. Very glad I did that yesterday and didn't decide to push forward, because that's one of the things that I've talked about before on the channel, is listening to your body and not just going full blaze the whole time, because your body will or can even just have enough sometimes and it needs recovery, because sometimes recovery is better than doing any training one day. But now, let's get onto the water. And we've made it back on the water. Not sure how the GoPro footage went there. After the cycle, the SD cards aren't happy, so you have to format them, but that's a whole different story. Hopefully we got to see some of the footage today. The session itself, much cooler, so much more able to focus, much more able to actually have a decent row and go through all the motions. We were working on some front end work today, similar to the other day where I fell in and ended up falling in today, unfortunately. Basically doing the same drill, but being that little bit more confident going out there, and then losing balance and going in. Water a bit deeper here, so a bit more difficult to get in, but got back in. The session itself, getting a little bit of legs only in there with some early square, or attempting some early square, trying to really work on the confidence around that front end, and it is coming along nicely. By the end of the session, it did make a difference. It's just trying to keep those differences to the next session rather than, okay, did well this session and then letting it escape my mind. Temperature wise, like the other day before the bike ride, I was thinking, is it really heavy? Is it really hot? Am I really tired? I think on that day specifically it was really hot, so it made everything that bit harder rather than me being tired or the rig change that I did making it especially heavy, because the rig was the same today and didn't make it any more heavy. And that's why I was asking before the session, do you think it can ever get too hot to train or race? Yes, of course, if it's 100 degrees Celsius or 200 Fahrenheit is too hot, but is it in a normal temperature out there, whether it's say 30 degrees Celsius or maybe 95 degrees Fahrenheit, is that too hot? Or is there specific sports you think you shouldn't be doing if it's too hot? Should you be avoiding them? Should you keep doing them because you should get used to that higher temperature? It's all that sort of conversation. Well, if you're going to race, say in Tokyo at the Olympics, that is going to be outrageously hot and outrageously humid, especially at the time of year that they're going to host the Olympics. The temperature is going to be outrageous. So should you be getting used to it so that you're used to the racing? Or will you be doing an indoor sport so you don't need to get used to it, you don't have to put your body through the extra stress as the small train passes? But after this session, it is time to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel, and we have to fuel up after any session, regardless of fall in or not, regardless if it's early squares or not. So let's get back to the house, have a little bit of a snack, and then just a little bit more about sort of high temperature, low temperature. Is it too high, too low training? Oh yeah. And we've finished fueling up post-session, and it's time for another session on the rowing machine with Finn, side by side. Oh yeah. And we've made it downstairs into the basement, into Finn's room, and as you can see, you've got some yam slaver on this erg that has been blessed by Yam the Great Dane. But today we're going to do a little bit of a workout on the rowing machine, nice and steady. Kind of. I mean, the steady as in the pace should be relatively consistent. Going to try and hold the heart rate. Finn's workout today is supposed to be
14k 145 heart rate.
14k at 145 heart rate. So I'm just keeping Finn company on the erg next to him. We've got our biggest fan behind us to keep us going. I can't really remember the last erg I did with an average of 145 heart rate. So got my heart rate monitor on, the chest strap variant, and I'm going to see what 145 heart rate is in the split. And no matter what split it is, I'm going to try and hold that 145 heart rate. So apart from the very beginning, I'm not going to push really hard to push to 145, but towards the end, I might have to slow down to hold 145. But we'll see. I'm hydrated, I've fueled up. Have you fueled up and you're hydrated?
I got a yogurt in me, that's what I need.
Fantastic. So we'll see how it goes in this workout, and I'll see you after it. Oh yeah!
Oh yeah! Bit disappointing, was chasing 145 split, sub 120 heart rate. Got close, but missed it by a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just work on that next time.
And my heart rate, let me get it. And my heart rate, 146 average, so 1 pip higher than we were trying to do, but I give it a little send towards the end, just because, really. No other particular reason, but to the hotness, how hot were you today?
Oh, it was boiling.
It was too hot.
Yeah,
too hot, or like just.
Nah, way too hot. Like I was sweating.
The fan did a bit, but not enough. So that's why the question is, when does it get, or when would it be too hot to either erg, row? Obviously, it would change if you're indoors, outdoors. But today, I wouldn't say it was too hot if you were sensible.
I was in the sun though, so.
Well, so it can be quite difficult if we're setting a heart rate. The heart rate should, in theory, give your body the same amount of stress, the same amount of adaptations for the cardiovascular system, regardless of the split pulled. So my heart rate was at 145 and it got really hot, but so the split slowed down, but the heart rate stayed at 145. That's the same cardio output. Very, very simply. So today, I averaged 50.3 with a little bit of a send at the end. So I started at about 49, 48 and thought, okay, let's continue with that. Heart rate was creeping up, 44, 45, 46. And when I hit 46, 47, 146, 147, I was like, okay, let's just taper the split a little bit to hover the heart rate around there, rather than letting the ego take control and saying, no, I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to hold 47s, 48s, and then watch the heart rate climb up towards the end. Who knows what it would have been, but it could have been 160, 170, just trying to hold that same split, whereas just backing off a split or so and letting it just gradually climb up or slow down the split, hopefully keeping that heart rate the same. So that's when the temperature doesn't affect you as much, but the disadvantage of that is you end up pulling less hard on the erg, so the muscular endurance and the muscles don't get as big of a workout, so you might have to substitute that with something else. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think. If it ever gets too hot to row, to run, to work out at all, and if you do think it does, what temperature do you think that is? Or do you think for training there is no such limit and it's really applied to racing? Finn, do you think it would ever get too hot to train?
No, not really, but in the comments down below, put down a distance, 1k likes, and I'll race cam it.
And as always, Yam Squad, remember to subscribe if you haven't already, hit that like button, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Oh yeah!